Hello, travelers and tourists. My name is Mark, and I'm the local disaster tour guide. That's right, I'm a storyteller with a remarkably large amount of Asmodeus related content for February. I'm starting to think that someone at Paizo got burned on Valentine's Day, and they've been taking it out on the calendar ever since. Welcome to a journey through the fantastic world of TTRPGs like Pathfinder and Starfinder, and welcome back to the Holidays of Golarion, a series taking a look at some of the important holidays and festivals on Golarion's calendar and how storytellers and players might make use of them at their own gaming table. The first video in this series talked about Foundation Day, how New Year's on Golarion's primary calendar is, in fact, the very day that founded the city at the heart of the world, Absalom. Well, it's time to move on to the second month of the calendar year, and by Absalom Reckoning, that is the month of Calistril, which is roughly analogous to the month of February on the calendar here on Earth. For those of you who are unaware, Paizo has designed their primary calendar to be functionally a mirror of the normal calendar that's used here in the US, and so the months follow the same schedule and have the same number of days, that kind of thing. And so for the second month of the year, the month which in Golarion is known as Calistril, named for the goddess Calistria, that is the end of their winter and roughly analogous to February for us, and there are three big holidays that we're going to be talking about in today's video. We're going to be talking about Merrymead, Loyalty Day, and Fateless Day. Now, before we go any farther, I do want to say that for purposes of this series, there is one type of holiday that I'm not covering in this series, and that's basically what I'm calling the birthday holidays. You will see this on some of the calendars for Golarion, that there might be a famous king or prince who was born on a certain day, and in the month of Calistril, there's a famous poet from Kadira that was born during that month. And while I do think that holidays like that are something that could be used, I think they're a little bit trickier to incorporate into a larger campaign, and so I'm kind of avoiding those for the discussions in this series. But do be aware that if you want to dig a little bit deeper into the festivals and holidays that exist in the setting of Golarion, that there are a lot of holidays like that celebrating particularly important people in the setting that you can definitely use and incorporate into your games. But, like I said, today we're going to be looking at three major holidays that are associated with the month of Calistril, and the first holiday is definitely the one that I think is going to be the most appealing to your typical players, and that is the month of Merrymead. You see, Merrymead is a celebration of having a good drink. Essentially, in Merrymead, the premise behind the holiday is that alehouses and other purveyors of various brews are essentially getting rid of last year's stock so they can make way for the new stock coming in. And so, on one festive day, Merrymead, the second of Calistril, every pub, every alehouse opens up their doors and just serves a ridiculous amount of various alcoholic beverages that people can then go around and enjoy. And you can imagine the kind of frivolity and also chaos that would ensue as a result. The uses for this are pretty obvious for players and storytellers alike. One of the big storytelling beats that could be associated with Merrymead is the idea of a pub crawl. A lot of people in Golarion who participate in Merrymead actually keep a list of the various pubs that they went to and the various drinks that they tried during the holiday, and they will kind of revisit that in later years and compare to see which pubs they enjoyed the most. And so one simple adventure that you could very easily incorporate using Merrymead would be sending your adventurers around town to try the various pubs and see if they can locate various famous drinks and the sort of shenanigans that might go into that kind of tale. On the flip side, You can also have a lot of stories dealing with the kind of chaos that would go into a holiday built around the idea of everyone in town going around and drinking a lot. So you could have people who are trying to control the crowds. You could have people who are trying to make sure that the various drinks don't run out over the course of the holiday, those sorts of things. It's a very festive and chaotic event that I think could lend itself to maybe some lighter games and also maybe some more serious stories, but it definitely has a lot of room for players to have some fun. So if you're stuck in the winter portion of your campaign and you want to give your players a little bit more of a lighthearted story to run around with, using Merrymead is a pretty easy thing that you can incorporate. The next two holidays are going to hit a little bit harder though, and those are Loyalty Day and Fateless Day. Let's talk about Loyalty Day first. Loyalty Day is on the 19th of Calistril. Yeah, 19th. I had to double check to make sure I was telling you correct on that. Loyalty Day is on the 19th of Calistril, and this is a holiday in the nation of Cheliax. And in particular, it is a celebration by House Thrune of the fact that they won the Chelish Civil War and gained power in Cheliax. So, let's just go ahead and be honest here. Loyalty Day is kind of a terrifying holiday. You see, Loyalty Day is a day that House Thrune in particular likes to use to remind the people of Cheliax exactly who is in charge. House Thrune is often joined by the Church of Asmodeus, and they host all sorts of public spectacles, feasts, different events. It is a celebration, but it is a celebration with one very specific purpose, and that is to remind the people of Cheliax, House Thrune won. Remember who's in charge, and remember who you owe your loyalty to. I really enjoy this holiday, and I think this is the kind of thing that storytellers can make a lot of good use out of, because it's a very dark and creepy twist on the sort of national celebration that you see a lot of places. There are several points on Golarion's calendar where various nations celebrate the founding of their nation. You know, in the last video in the series, we talked about Foundation Day and the foundation of the city of Absalom. That's a big celebration where everyone's having a good time. Well, national celebrations can be fun. You know, 4th of July is celebrated here in America, and a lot of people really enjoy that holiday. But national celebrations can also take a darker twist, and it's very obvious that that is what Loyalty Day is intended to do. House Thrune and the Church of Asmodeus are essentially throwing these giant feasts as a way of telling the public, don't forget we're in charge. Hey, we won, and we're glad you're happy about it. Enjoy your taco. I think as a storyteller, if you want to really set the tone of a game in Cheliax, I think Loyalty Day is perfect for that. You can really drive home just how threatening House Thrune can be, just how threatening the Church of Asmodeus can be, and if you're trying to run a game where your players are fighting against Cheliax, being rabble-rousers who are trying to interrupt a Loyalty Day celebration, that is a very easy low-level adventure that practically writes itself. So, Loyalty Day is I think this is just a perfect opportunity to really take a creepy twist on the kind of national holidays you often see on calendars. Very, very usable, a lot of fun. I think storytellers can use it a lot of different ways and get some pretty good mileage out of it. The last holiday we're talking about in this video is called Fateless Day, and this is a little-known holiday that is celebrated on Leap Day in Golarion. You see, as I mentioned, the Absalom Reckoning calendar is a model of the calendar here on Earth. And as part of that, that does mean that they have leap years just like we do. So, every 4 years, a leap day gets added to the calendar, and it's added to the end of the second month, meaning that every 4 years you have the 29th of Calistril, and in most places in Golarion, it's simply known as Leap Day. It's viewed as an interesting anomaly on the calendar, kind of like it would be here on Earth. But there is a small group in Golarion that has a little bit of a special twist on Leap Day, and it's called Fateless Day. Mahathala is one of the Queens of the Night, one of the ladies in service to Asmodeus that used to be one of the psychopomps in service to Pharasma. Mahathala was a psychopomp that served Pharasma, and she ended up, one of the things she didn't know was how she would die, and Pharasma didn't want her to have that knowledge, but she ended up getting that knowledge, and getting that knowledge actually broke Mahathala mentally and caused her to fall and go evil and wind up in the service of Asmodeus. Mahathala now has a cult that operates in her service, and Mahathala is in many ways the antithesis to the psychopomps that serve Pharasma. So you can think of Mahathala as this very antagonistic force towards one of the central deities in the Golarion campaign setting. Well, according to Mahathala's cult, on Leap Day, on what is known as Fateless Day to them, the River of Souls stops flowing, meaning that anyone who dies on Leap Day, their soul does not go to Pharasma for judgment, but instead is set loose to other ends. And so the cult of Mahathala, on Leap Day, so once every 4 years, they attempt various evil schemes, sometimes attempting to commit terrible atrocities, or other times attempting to end their own lives so that they can escape Pharasma's judgment, but essentially they attempt to use Fateless Day as an opportunity to derive Pharasma of her power as the Judge of Souls. So, this is another one of those holidays where I think that storytellers could have a ton of fun, because the idea of this evil cult dedicated to one of the Queens of the Night plotting some terrible thing that they're going to do in an effort to undercut the Church of Pharasma on Leap Day. There's a built-in clock, there's a very specific timetable. It's got a lot of those beats that you associate with just very dramatic stories, and it's something that I think a storyteller could have a lot of fun, use to set up some really convincing villains, and create a self-contained but pretty compelling arc inside of their game. So, those are 3 of the big holidays that you might want to use if you're playing in Golarion. That's Merrymead, Loyalty Day, and Fateless Day. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I think it's a little strange that you've got connections to Asmodeus on 2 of the 3 holidays in the month associated with February. Like, somebody is bitter about Valentine's Day. I mean, and if you don't believe me, they named the month after Calistria, the goddess of revenge. Think about it. But anyways, that is the end of our conversation for today. That is the end of part 2 of Holidays in Golarion. So, it's time to turn the conversation over to you. What are your thoughts about these holidays, and how would you use them in your games? If you're a storyteller, what kind of stories would you run around Merrymead, or around Loyalty Day, or around Fateless Day? How would you make use of those tales? Or, if you're a player, how could you work those holidays into your own story? Jump down to the comments section and let me know your thoughts. And if there's a holiday that I overlooked that you think is worth sharing for the month of Calistril, be sure to share that as well. Don't forget to do all the other stuff that helps to support the channel. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can check out my free Discord and my Patreon. All of those links will be down in the comments. Will be down in the video description. I don't like doing this in one take. Moments like that really throw me off. But like I said, you can do all that stuff to support the channel. And I will also do the quick update on my arm and my healing process. They did the 1 week follow-up to my surgery recently. Everything's going well. I've got a lot of the movement back. So assuming the healing continues to go well, hopefully in about 3 weeks, I may actually graduate to a brace. So all of that's pretty good. Things are going well. Thank you for all the support on that end. But as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being part of the conversation. Have a wonderful day.